Good evening. This is All India Radio. I'm Anuja Kumar, and with me is Renu Kataria with the evening news. The headlines. Government says India on its way to reach exports worth $400 billion by this financial year. Centre invites applications from Indian companies with indigenous technologies in semiconductor and sensors sector for financial support. Centre issues simplified procedure to install rooftop solar plant for residential consumers. One common service centre to be established in each of 2.5 lakh gram panchayats across the country. 696 anti-human trafficking units established in various states and union territories, says the centre. Lok Sabha takes up discussion on motion of thanks on President's address to both the houses today. Campaigning picks up for first two phases of polling in Uttar Pradesh and single-phase polls in Goa and Uttarakhand. India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage crosses 167 crore 80 lakh mark. Recovery rate stands at 94.91%. And in sports, India were 100 for 2 in 28 overs against Australia in semi-final of ICC Under-19 World Cup 2022 at the Coolidge Cricket Ground in Antigua. As the number of COVID-19 cases is rising fast in several parts of the country, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant and to get fully vaccinated and help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, get vaccinated. With the new Omicron variant of coronavirus causing concern, please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now, the news in detail. Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal told the Lok Sabha today, India is well on its way to reach exports worth $400 billion by this financial year. Replying during question hour, he said, there is a consistency in export values from last April at the rate of $30 billion a month, and the total value has reached the figure of $334 billion so far. Mr. Goyal said the government is in talks with countries like the UAE, Australia, the UK, the EU, Canada, and many others to enter into free trade agreements or comprehensive economic partnership agreements. He said the move is to garner new markets for Indian exports and to the shift in the global geopolitical situation post-COVID-19 pandemic in aspects like supply chains. He termed the productivity-linked incentive scheme as a move that has come in at the right time to give impetus to the industry to take advantage of the changing market conditions. The Department of Science and Technology invited applications for financial support to Indian companies with indigenous technologies in semiconductor and sensors sector for commercialization. The department said Indian companies having innovative technologies at commercialization stage in semiconductor and sensor domain now have an opportunity of being supported financially for commercialization and of financial assistance in the form of loans, equity and grants.
The centre has issued simplified procedure to install rooftop solar plant for the residential consumers. Ministry of New and Renewable Energy said a national portal for registering applications from the beneficiary and tracking progress will be developed. The household beneficiary who wish to install rooftop solar under the new mechanism will have to apply on the national portal. The beneficiary will be required to submit necessary information including details of bank account where the subsidy amount will be transferred. The application will be forwarded online to the concerned DISCOM for issuance of technical feasibility approval within next 15 working days. It said the beneficiary has to install its plant within a specified period, otherwise his application will be cancelled. Union Minister of State for Electronic and Information Technology, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, has told Lok Sabha that at least one Common Service Centre, CSC, will be established in each of the 2.50 lakh gram panchayats across the country. In a written reply, he said it will help in the delivery of various government-to-citizen and other citizen-centric e-services. He said the ministry has implemented the network of common services centres under the Digital Indian programme.
The government is planning to formulate a new national cooperation policy aimed at strengthening cooperatives by bringing transparency, modernization and creating competitiveness. Giving this information to a question in Rajya Sabha today, Minister of Cooperation Amit Shah said it has started consultations with various stakeholders, including various ministries and departments of central government, state governments, cooperative federations and other major cooperative institutions of the country. He said the response has been received from about 35 stakeholders, including 10 ministries and 6 state governments. The minister said the government aims to achieve overall prosperity in the country through the mantra of Sehkar Se Samriddhi. Union Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology Rajiv Chandrasekhar has said the government is taking multiple steps to hone the skills of youth in 5G-based technologies and in Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, automation, among others. In a written reply in the Lok Sabha, he said 5G test beds have been built in premier institutes like IIT Hyderabad, Madras, Bombay, Delhi, Indian Institute of Science, Centre of Excellence in Wireless Technology and Society of Applied Microwave Electronics Engineering and Research with the support of the Department of Telecommunications.
The government has clarified that Aadhaar of husband is not mandatory under the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana (PMMVY) to facilitate the inclusion of single mother and abandoned mother. Under the scheme, maternity benefits of 5,000 rupees is being provided in 3 installments to the pregnant women and the lactating mothers for the first child. Earlier, the beneficiary was required to provide Aadhaar cards of the women and their husbands. This information was given by the Women and Child Development Minister Smriti Irani in a written reply to a question in Rajya Sabha today. The minister said Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana is implemented in all states and union territories except Odisha and Telangana. The seasonal migrants can avail the benefits of the scheme from any of the state and union territory implementing the scheme. The government has said that nearly 9,792 crore rupees have been transferred to beneficiaries under PMMVY. The government today said 44,684 Kashmiri migrant families have migrated from Kashmir Valley due to insurgency and other reasons since 1990. Total over 1,54,700 persons have migrated so far from the valley. Replying to written questions in Rajya Sabha, Minister of State Home Affairs Nityanand Rai said, since 2019, over 1,40,800 new works and projects have been initiated in Jammu and Kashmir and 17,550 have been taken up under various sectors in Ladakh.
The government today said 439 terrorists have been killed in Jammu and Kashmir till the 26th of last month after the repeal of Article 370 from the state since the 5th of August 2019. In a written reply in the Rajya Sabha, the Minister of State for Home Affairs Nityanand Rai said 541 terror incidents took place after the repeal of Article 370 from the state. During this period, 98 civilians lost their lives and 109 security forces personnel martyred. He said during these incidents, no significant public property has been damaged. However, damages to private property of around 5 crore 30 lakh rupees have been assessed. The government has said 42 terrorist organizations in the country have been listed in the first schedule under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967 UAPA. This information was given by the Minister of State for Home Affairs Nityanand Rai in a written reply to a question in Rajya Sabha today. He said the number of organizations declared as unlawful associations under the UAPA is 13.
A total of 696 anti-human trafficking units have been established in various states and union territories. This was stated by the Minister of State for Home Affairs Ajay Kumar Mishra in a written reply to a question in the Rajya Sabha today. He said government has provided financial assistance of approximately 100 crore rupees to all states and UTs for strengthening the existing anti-human trafficking units and for establishing new units covering all districts of states and UTs. Union Minister of State for Textiles, Darshana Jardosh, has informed that the government has approved setting up of 7 PM Mega Integrated Textile Region and Apparel PM Mitra Parks in greenfield or brownfield sites to develop world-class infrastructure. In a written reply in Lok Sabha, she said the PM Mitra Park will have plug-and-play facility with an outlay of 4,445 crore rupees. You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Government says India on its way to reach exports worth $400 billion by this financial year. Centre invites applications from Indian companies with indigenous technologies in semiconductor and sensor sector for financial support. Centre issues simplified procedure to install rooftop solar plant for residential consumers. One common service centre to be established in each of 2.50 lakh gram panchayats across the country. 696 anti-human trafficking units established in various states and union territories, says Centre. Lok Sabha takes up discussion on motion of thanks on President's address to both the houses today. Campaigning picks up for first 2 phases of polling in Uttar Pradesh and single-phase polls in Goa and Uttarakhand. India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage crosses 167 crore 80 lakh mark. Recovery rate stands at 94.91%. And in sports, India were 114 for 2 in 30.1 overs against Australia in semi-final of ICC Under-19 World Cup 2022 at the Coolidge Cricket Ground in Antigua. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर।
8700014242।
Welcome back to the evening news on All India Radio. The Lok Sabha has taken up discussion on the motion of thanks on the President's address today. Moving the discussion, BJP member Harish Dwivedi said the centre is focused on generation of employment to millions of youth across the country with impartiality and fairness. He recounted the achievements of the government under Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi and said the abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir and the efforts to build Ram Temple in Ayodhya is commendable. Now here is a review of the proceedings in Parliament today, first from Lok Sabha. The writer is Achinta Bora of PTI. 2 BJP MPs from Uttar Pradesh on Wednesday highlighted the achievements of the Modi government at the centre and the Yogi government of Uttar Pradesh and said 4.5 lakh youths were given jobs and 36,000 crore rupees worth farmers' loans were waived off in the last 5 years. Initiating the debate on the motion of thanks on the President's address, BJP MP Harish Dwivedi slammed the previous governments at the centre and in Uttar Pradesh for only providing lip services rather than actually working for the welfare of the poor and backward classes. As assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand and 3 other states will begin in about a week, Dwivedi spoke mostly about the work and developmental initiatives being undertaken by the central and state governments in these 2 states in the last 5 years. Another BJP MP, Kamlesh Paswan, said the Modi and Yogi governments have been serving the poor and backward classes with sincerity round the clock. He said that backward classes were getting honour under the Modi and Yogi governments. The poor and marginalized people are getting the government benefits that include free food grains, LPG connections, electricity connections and free vaccines, Paswan said. Participating in the debate, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi said the Modi government has created 2 India, one of the rich and the other of the poor, and the gap between the 2 are growing. Gandhi said the presidential address to joint sitting of Parliament had no mention of unemployment. Presidential address was a list of bureaucratic ideas instead of a strategic vision, he said. The Congress leader said the presidential address to joint sitting of Parliament did not touch central challenges facing the country. The Modi government has made huge mistakes in Jammu and Kashmir and in foreign policy.
Discussion is continuing in the Lok Sabha and now review of proceedings in Rajya Sabha. Writer is Sanjeev Chopra of PTI. Both houses of parliament have taken up discussion today on the presidential address to the joint sitting of the two houses. In Rajya Sabha, moving the motion of thanks, Geeta alias Chandraprabha of BJP said, people are repeatedly giving a clear mandate to the NDA because it is making efforts to bring equality through the welfare of the downtrodden, exploited and backward classes while ensuring the country's development. She said as many as 27 ministers are from OBCs in the Union Council of Ministers and 20 belong to SC and ST communities, while 11 union ministers are women. She highlighted the implementation of various welfare measures in the poll-bound states, where the first phase of voting will be held on the 10th of February 2022. Shwet Malik of the BJP attacked the previous Congress-led governments, accusing them of corruption. He praised the government's efforts to combat the pandemic by rolling out a successful vaccination program. He observed that the government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave a befitting reply to Pakistan-sponsored terrorism by carrying out surgical strikes. Ram Gopal Yadav of Samajwadi Party refuted Home Minister Amit Shah's statements on the Samajwadi Party's stand on the construction of the Ram Temple at Ayodhya, saying the temple will be built faster and better if Akhilesh Yadav becomes the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. Leader of Opposition Mallikarjun Kharge charged the government with not delivering on its various promises, including generating 2 crore jobs per year. He alleged that the government has failed to control price rise of essential commodities like petroleum products and daily food items. Tiruchi Siva of TMK criticized the proposed amendments in All India Services Cadre rules, which give greater say to the centre, alleging that this is again transgressing into the rights of the states. Earlier, during the Zero Hour, members asked the government to examine the allegations of irregularities in the railways, non-technical popular categories and Level 1 exams leading to violence in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh last month. Among others, Fauzia Khan of NCP, Sushil Kumar Modi of BJP and Sanjay Singh of Aam Aadmi Party raised several matters of public importance. Earlier in the day, the House observed silence as mark of respect on the deaths of Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu of South Africa in December and David Sassoli, serving President of the European Parliament, earlier this month. While the Rajya Sabha met for the day, Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu urged the members to ensure smooth functioning and a productive budget session and said they should conduct themselves in a manner befitting the parliamentary democracy. He hoped the members would help productivity during the current session, which is being held at the confluence of the historic 75th year of independence and 70 years of electoral journey of Free India. And that's all in Parliament Review.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that it is very important for us to make a self-reliant and modern India. He said, Union Budget, which was presented in Parliament yesterday, has several important provisions to take India forward in the direction of modernity.
ये समय नए अवसरों का, नए संकल्पों की सिद्धि का समय है। बहुत जरूरी है कि भारत आत्मनिर्भर बने और आत्मनिर्भर भारत की नींव पर एक आधुनिक भारत का निर्माण हो।
Talking about the people-friendly and progressive budget at a program organized by the BJP today, Mr. Modi said India's economy is expanding continuously due to the decisions taken by the government in last 7 years. The Prime Minister said 7 years before, India's GDP was 1,10,000 crore rupees, but today it is about 2,30,000 crore rupees. Mr. Modi said this budget focuses on the poor, middle class and youth and aims to provide them basic necessities. The News Services Division of All India Radio will bring an exclusive interview tonight with N.K. Singh, Chairperson of 15th Finance Commission, on the Union Budget 2022. He said that the Union Budget has given impetus to the ongoing reforms in the country. Mr. Singh said the focus has now been shifted to proper implementation of the reforms.
This budget has been designed to be exactly what it is, embedded in the much greater ground reality and emphasizing on the need for the implementation of the ministry. She said so also, that I'll watch very carefully the implementation of these reforms which are currently underway.
This interview can be heard on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:30 p.m. onwards. This will also be available on our website newsonair.nic.in and on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. In poll-bound Uttar Pradesh, the high-pitch electoral campaign is going on for the first two phases of the seven-phase assembly elections, and the campaign has also picked up for the single-phase polls in Goa and Uttarakhand. The star campaigners and prominent leaders of various political parties engaged in public rallies after finalization of the candidates for the first two phases. The door-to-door canvassing and virtual appeals to the voters also continue. The political activities have already begun in other poll-bound states, including Punjab and Manipur. Meanwhile, the process of filing nominations for the third phase of polling in Uttar Pradesh and single-phase polling in Punjab came to a close last evening. The scrutiny of nominations was undertaken today. In UP, filing of nominations for the fourth phase will continue till tomorrow. The process of filing nominations for the fifth of seven-phase assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh and first of the two-phase polling in Manipur began with the issuance of notification yesterday. But no nominations were filed on the opening day in both of the states for this phase. Earlier, the picture of electoral battle during the second phase of polls and the single-phase polls in Goa and Uttarakhand also became clear after the withdrawal of candidature. In Uttar Pradesh, 586 candidates are in fray for 55 assembly seats going to polls during this phase, while 301 candidates are contesting for 40 seats in Goa and 632 candidates are vying for 70 seats in Uttarakhand. The second phase of polling in Uttar Pradesh will be conducted on the 14th of February in 55 assembly constituencies from 9 districts, including 9 assembly constituencies reserved for the scheduled castes. In addition, the single-phase polling in 2 states of Goa and Uttarakhand will be held simultaneously. 40 seats in Goa and 70 seats in Uttarakhand will go to polls together in this phase. The Election Commission has extended a ban on physical rallies and roadshows till the 11th of February.
Punjab Chief Electoral Officer CEO Dr. S. Karuna Raju today said that complying to directions of Election Commission of India ECI, as many as 3,76,542 licensed weapons have been deposited ahead of state assembly elections scheduled to be held on the 20th of February. He said this is 97.43% of the total 3,90,275 licensed weapons, whereas 72 without licensed weapons were seized in the state. He said some of the persons having licensed weapons, including security personnel at nationalized and private banks and other persons facing security issues, will have to approach the Deputy Commissioner for any genuine exemptions and complaint redressal. The election campaigning is intensifying with every passing day in the poll-bound Uttar Pradesh. Star campaigners and senior leaders of different political parties are campaigning for their candidates. Senior BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah today campaigned for the party candidate in Badayu district. Addressing a rally, he said, in last 5 years of Yogi government, criminals have left the state and law and order has improved drastically. Senior BJP leader and Raksha Mantri Singh campaigned for the party candidates in Pilibhit district of Uttar Pradesh. He said Yogi government gave transparent and corruption-free governance. Other political parties also campaigned for their candidates. Samajwadi Party Chief Akhilesh Yadav and President of Rashtriya Lok Dal Jayant Chaudhary jointly held Vijay Yatra in Shamli district after a press conference.
Fearing that its winning candidates may defect to the ruling party after Goa Assembly election results are announced, the Aam Aadmi Party today made its 39 contesting candidates sign an affidavit and take an oath of loyalty to the party and that of refraining from corruption. Arvind Kejriwal said, for the last 2 elections, we are seeing that one may be contesting on any party, but they joined the BJP later. Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra today released the party's manifesto for the upcoming Vidhan Sabha elections in Uttarakhand today. She said 4 lakh people would be provided employment and the price of LPG cylinder will not be more than 500 rupees if the party is voted to power.
Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra today released the party's manifesto for the upcoming Vidhan Sabha elections in Uttarakhand today. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar hit back at Congress leader Rahul Gandhi for saying in Lok Sabha that government could not get a foreign guest for Republic Day. In a series of tweets, Dr. Jaishankar said those who live in India know that nation was in the midst of a COVID wave. He added that the 5 Central Asian presidents who were to come did hold a virtual summit on 27th of January. He asked if Rahul Gandhi missed that. Mr. Gandhi alleged in Lok Sabha that it is this government which brought Pakistan and China together. Dr. Jaishankar pointed out that in 1963, Pakistan illegally handed over the Shaksam Valley to China. He said China built the Karakoram highway through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in the 1970s. He also said that from the 1970s, the two countries also had close nuclear collaboration. In 2013, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor started. Dr. Jaishankar asked Mr. Gandhi if China and Pakistan were distant back then. Chhattisgarh has become the 35th state and union territory to implement One Nation, One Ration Card (ONORC). The Migrant National Food Security Act (NFSA) beneficiaries of Chhattisgarh will now be able to take the benefit of subsidized food grains at any fair price shop across the country.
The Kerala government will set up 28 more fast-track special courts for quick disposal of POCSO cases. With this, the number of such special courts will go up to 56. The state cabinet, which met today, also decided to strengthen special fast-track POCSO courts in the state. With the administration of more than 57 lakh doses of vaccine in the last 24 hours, India's COVID vaccination coverage has exceeded 167 crore 80 lakh doses. Over 2,81,000 patients have recovered in the last 24 hours. India's recovery rate stands at 94.91%.
Science and Technology Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh today felicitated the Beating Retreat drone light show startups who had mesmerized the nation by lightening the sky with colorful tricolor at New Delhi's Vijay Chowk on the evening of 29th January. Boat Lab startup co-founders Sarita Ahlawat, Tanmay Bankur and Anuj Kumar Burnwal were present along with other team members. Speaking on the occasion, Dr. Singh said rules and regulations are being simplified in the Department of Science and Technology for accessing liberal funding by innovative startups. In the second semi-final of the ICC Under-19 World Cup 2022 at Antigua, India were 141 for 2 in 33.5 overs against Australia when reports last came in. Earlier, India has won the toss and elected to bat. India have been one of the teams to beat at the World Cup, winning all of their games in fine fashion so far. They head into the fixture on the back of a thumping win over 2020 champions Bangladesh, sustaining their push for another Under-19 trophy win.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. National capital Delhi is likely to have thunderstorm with rain. Temperature will vary between 13 and 19 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have partly cloudy sky. Minimum temperature will be 16 degrees Celsius, while the maximum is expected to be around 27 degrees. Chennai is likely to have fog in the morning. Kolkata will have partly cloudy sky, and Srinagar will have rain or snow. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Government says India on its way to reach exports worth $400 billion by this financial year. Centre invites applications from Indian companies with indigenous technologies in semiconductor and sensors sector for financial support. Centre issues simplified procedure to install rooftop solar plant for residential consumers. One common service centre to be established in each of 2.5 lakh Gram Panchayats across the country. 696 anti-human trafficking units established in various states and union territories, says Centre. Lok Sabha takes up discussion on motion of thanks on President's address to both the houses today. Campaigning picks up for first 2 phases of polling in Uttar Pradesh and single-phase polls in Goa and Uttarakhand. India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage crosses 167 crore 80 lakh mark. Recovery rate stands at 94.91%. And in sports, India were 147 for 2 in 34.4 overs against Australia in semi-final of ICC Under-19 World Cup 2022 at the Coolidge Cricket Ground in Antigua. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.